Hello, welcome to my channel. Today, we will recap the 2022 movie Wednesday. Please subscribe to help us grow. Spoilers alert, watch out. The movie's main character is a girl named Wednesday Addams. Despite being a teen, she hardly ever displays any form of emotion and is obsessed with anything related to death. In addition, she loves black and white gothic attire, which doesn't sit well with everyone. In the opening scene, Wednesday arrives at her school with a sinister expression. She discovers her brother Pugsley in her locker, bound with an apple stuck in his mouth. As she touched him, she immediately had a vision of who the culprits were. Here we learned that Wednesday is not a typical child. By touching someone, she can see into their past and future. She was enraged at what they did to him. The seemingly overprotective sister spotted the bully swimming, went for 2 bags full of piranhas, and released them casually in the pool as a statement that nobody messes with her brother except her. The terrified bullies run for their life. In the next scene, we are introduced to Wednesday's parents, Morticia and Gomez. The two have had enough of her antics and decided to send her to the prestigious Nevermore Academy. Every student at the academy possesses some magical prowess and is taught how to control it. Her parents are also past students. Meanwhile, a hiker heads on a solo adventure in the woods near Nevermore Academy and unfortunately is killed by an unknown creature. After discovering the dismembered body, the sheriff starts combing the area, but unfortunately we learned that this heinous act isn't the first of its kind. Wednesday arrives at the academy and is greeted by Principal Larissa Weems, who introduces her to a roommate, Enid, a werewolf who is the complete opposite of Wednesday in every possible way. While Wednesday loves gothic attire and black, Enid loves vibrant colors and sits on the down-to-earth side of the fence. Later, Enid gives Wednesday a tour of the academy as she points out the main school groups: Fangs, Furs, Stoners, and Scales. Fangs are vampires, Furs are werewolves, Stoners are stunning with snakes on their heads, and Scales are sirens with the power to seduce. Enid also shows Bianca Barkley, the most popular girl in the school, with her ex-savior Thorpe, a dead artist who can transform his drawings to life. Next, as the Addams family drives off, Gomez unleashes Thing, a chopped-off human hand whose duty is to watch over their daughter. The next day, Wednesday joins the fencing club, where she goes up against the super-talented Bianca. They ended with equal points after going through their back-and-forth encounter. Hence, they decide to take off their mask and fight until someone spills blood first. Soon after, a vicious battle breaks out between them as they match strides for strides, but in the end Bianca becomes the victor after she slashes Wednesday's cheek. Later, after being treated and on her way out, a falling stone gargoyle almost kills her. Luckily, she is saved by Xavier, the death artist, who arrives right in time. Shortly after, she goes to a room but suspects she's being watched. She searches the room and discovers the hand Thing, realizing that her parents are behind it. She threatens the Thing to be loyal to her, or she'll lock it in her drawers. The terrified Thing had no other choice than devour to abide. As a result of the piranha stunt, Wednesday has to take compulsory therapy, so Principal Larissa drives her to Jericho, a town outside of Nevermore, for her therapy appointment. She meets the therapist but discusses absolutely nothing with her. Instead, Wednesday has a more excellent idea in mind, hence she has to be excused and then escapes through the window outside. She accidentally bumped into a man and suddenly she has a vision of him being killed. Next scene, we see a terrified Wednesday going to a coffee shop. She runs into Tyler, the sheriff's son, who has mechanical problems with his espresso maker. The instructions are in Italian. Thankfully, Wednesday knows a bit and fixes the device and requests a ride to the closest bus stop. But before Tyler could respond, some bullies showed up and started to tease her. When Wednesday tries to ignore them and can no longer stand them, she fights back and quickly knocks them down. Moments later, Principal Larissa and the sheriff make their way to the store, and after seeing the damage, an infuriated Larissa yells at Wednesday as they drive back out of town. While returning to the academy, they passed a motor vehicle accident. The victim turned out to be the man she had picked up in her vision earlier. Later that evening, she plays a melancholy song on her cello on the balcony, while the werewolves can be heard howling in the distance. On the other hand, Enid, a werewolf herself said she wouldn't join them because she didn't know how to transform the scene cuts to things stopping by Tyler's room and telling him that Wednesday said to call her despite being terrified. He obliges, and the two begin video chatting. Wednesday tells him to meet her at the harvest fair the next day, claiming it will be fun, but in fact, she wants to get out of the academy. Meanwhile, at the fair, Principal Larissa, on the other hand, is keeping a close watch on Wednesday, but the teen manages to meet up with Tyler. The two almost made it out of the fair, but Wednesday bumped into Rowan, a classmate who dashes off into the woods. And being that she touched him, she immediately gets a vision of him. Rowan has been viciously mauled to death by someone. Terrified, she changes her heart and chases him to break the news. However, before she can utter a word, he uses his powers to place her in a tree, then states that his mother, a gifted seer, envisions her destroying them. Academy 25 years ago, and to prevent this from happening, he must kill her. As he starts choking her telekinetically, out of nowhere comes a monster, ripping him apart, then vanishes as Wednesday stands over his body. She sees the supposedly drawing next. The sheriff and his team started looking for Rowan's body but were unsuccessful. The sheriff, as expected, doesn't buy a word Wednesday is selling about a monster attacking Rowan and thinks it's a Nevermore student. Suddenly, an officer interrupts their conversation, and to our surprise, we see Rowan alive and in living colors. Upon entering her room, Wednesday realizes Enid is too preoccupied with the poke-up competition, an annual boat riding contest. Next, she tries to talk to Rowan, but Princey informs her that he has been expelled for reasons she can't discuss. As a result, Wednesday put Plan B in action and asked Thing to watch Rowan. The scene shifts to Rowan at the train station with Thing hot on his heels. After checking the surrounding, he enters the bathroom and transforms into an older man. Unfortunately, Thing gets distracted and misses the transformation. Later, he takes on the identity of Principal Larissa. Here we can see that she's a shapeshifter and is covering up Rowan's murder with no other option left in the bag. Wednesday goes to the woods to search for clues and is accompanied by Tyler. She eventually finds Rowan's glasses and gets a vision. As she picks them up, she sees a purple book where Rowan receives the drawing, and wasting no time, she asks her teacher about the book. The latter reveals that it belongs to a former student association called Nightshades. However, the group has been disbanded. When school dismisses, Wednesday sneaks into Rowan's room to look for the book. She discovers a mask under his bed, but Rowan's roommate Xavier shows up before she can leave, so she quickly ducks beneath the bed. Here, Bianca also shows up to see her ex and talks about her intentions of humiliating Enid in the upcoming competition. As Wednesday returned to her room, she decided to support her roommate by entering the competition to crush Bianca. The next day, they start preparing for the competition, as there are no rules, and yes, Bianca is taking advantage of this. There are 4 teams, and they have to row their boat to a destination and back. Whoever first reaches the finish line wins without being knocked over in the water. As the competition gets underway, Bianca said one of her teammates to prepare to sabotage the other boats. The teammate, who is a mermaid, dives into the water, causing the others to sink and knocking them out. Luckily, Wednesday and Enid got their guards up, and with Thing's help they captured the mermaid. On the other hand, during the contest, Wednesday has another vision. This time she sees a version of herself with blonde hair who informs her that she is the key. A bit confused, but snaps back to reality and realizes that Bianca's team is leading. She and Enid opt to play dirty since they are determined to win. They use Bianca's own trick on her and eventually win the competition. This marks the first time a non-siren team has won a prestigious competition in 40 years. Later, Principal Larissa honors the victorious squad and presents Enid with the poke-up trophy. However, Wednesday cannot endure the contest and seeks comfort from Edgar Allan Poe, a past student of Nevermore Academy. Suddenly, she notices a symbol under the stone book. He's clutching the same emblem on the picture Rowan had when he was mauled to death. Wednesday quickly solves some riddles in the book and realizes the hint snapping twice, so she snaps twice and mysteriously uncovers a hidden passageway. She finds Rowan's book where he has torn the picture. She put the book in her bag, but before she could go any further, someone hoisted a black bag over her head. Soon after, when it is removed, she discovers Xavier, Bianca, and a few other students who are members of the Nightshade Club surrounding her. It turns out that even though the group was disbanded, Principal Larissa secretly brought it back. Xavier tries to persuade her to join the group, but she declines and leaves. Next scene, Principal Larissa announces the annual outreach day, where nevermore students will have to hang out with normies by interacting with them at their firm. Wednesday informs Xavier that she thinks his roommate was murdered, but the latter doesn't think his roommate is dead, given that he was only expelled. Nevertheless, Wednesday showed him Rowan's mother, supposedly drawing upon close observation. Xavier reveals that the man in the picture is the founder of Jericho, Joseph Crackstone. Later, Wednesday became a volunteer in the Pilgrim World, where Jericho's history is preserved. There she meets her bookkeeping friend, a young boy named Eugene. The two starts talking, but are later approached by the Pilgrim's caretaker, Miss Arlene. She gives them a grand tour and tells them about some of Joseph Crackstone's favorite artifacts. Being amazed at what she hears, Wednesday wants to learn more about the artifacts. And since they have tableware, original farm tools, and even the family chamber pot, she wants to work there, but is told it's being renovated, so instead she'll be working at the Ye Olde Fudgery to serve fudge and cake to the tourists. Next, Wednesday breaks into Crackstone's chamber with the help of Eugene. She finds a picture of the old meeting place with the girl from her vision. Shortly after, she finds the book that the girl is carrying, but realizing that the pages are blank, she suspects it to be fake. Just then, the caretaker shows up and catches her. Wednesday inquires about the book, but Arlene reluctantly confesses that it was stolen a month ago. Later, Wednesday and Tyler meet up at the coffee shop. The latter asks about Crackstone, and Tyler discloses that the original meeting house's remnants are hidden away in the woods. It's a ruined place, and the head's high members hang out there. Wednesday and Thing immediately head into the woods searching for Joseph Crackstone's place. They eventually find it and come across a homeless fella, but Thing chokes him and scares him away. Suddenly, Wednesday gets another vision. This time she goes way back 400 years. Here the blonde girl is also present, with villagers encircling her as they call her devil spawn. Shortly, Joseph Crackstone emerges from the crowd and calls her Goody Adams and accuses her of being a witch, then sentences her to death in a barn filled with other folks who have been implicated, including her mother. In response, Goody retaliates and accuses them of wiping out the innocent, taking their lands and robbing them of their peaceful spirits. An irate Crackstone stares at her for a while, then sets the barn on fire. Goody tries to save her mother, but her attempt is futile. Finally, with all hope lost, she escapes through a trap door and flees. Wednesday watches all of this happening in the barn as she joins them. Goody rushes to her and claims Joseph won't end his crusade until they die. With this revelation, Wednesday wakes up from her vision and tells Thing everything. Suddenly, they realize that the beast that killed Rowan is following them in the downpour. Wednesday tries to catch up, but is unable. To her surprise, she proceeds to follow the footprints, but they transform into human footprints. This reveals that the creature is actually human. She immediately approaches Xavier and tells him what she saw. He wanted to see it, but unfortunately the rain washed it away. The next day, everyone gathers in the town square to unveil the new Joseph Crackstone statue, while the mayor and Principal Larissa announces the sculpture. Wednesday plays an instrumental version of Fleetwood Mac's Don't Stop with the Jericho marching band. However, disaster strikes when Thing sets the statue ablaze, and oh yes, on Wednesday's command, her eyes glitter with retribution as she plays the cello quickly while others flee in terror. Later, Principal Larissa accuses her as usual of being responsible for the incident, but Wednesday shuts down such a claim instantly and confronts Larissa for denying the gruesome reality that laid the foundation for Jericho. Later that night, the creature attacks the homeless man from earlier, and his camera records the event. The sheriff and his team discovered his body and find footage on the camera that shows the culprit's face. After developing the images, the sheriff looks at the killer's face, a creature from your worst nightmare. Hope you like it. Please subscribe and check out our other videos. Goodbye.